Okay, thanks everybody for coming to another event for the Council Connections. This is going to be one of the last ones that we run under the title Council Connections. This started with the initiative of Dave Smith when he was president, and it was the beginning of COVID, and we needed to get people to see each other, know each other, and so on. So there was no audience for at least a year and a half. We were doing it all in Zoom. Now, having said that, I hope that with the new activities committee, we will be doing this in the realm of the activities committee, but I would like to find out if people have ideas about a new name for this. So I'm open to any suggestions. Send me an email, send me a note, a message, or send me a dove with an attached label saying this is a new name. Okay? Without further ado, we have our guest today.
As I look around, I see not only that there are familiar faces, but that they're all friends. So I think you all know so much already about the Mental Health and Wellness Committee. We're going to go over high points, but there's a sense of familiarity already. Ronnie is going to... Pat is going to introduce the topic of mental health at Woodland Pond for the past years. And Ronnie is going to fill us in from the how the actual task force began. So, Pat.
Hi. It's not because I'm the oldest that I get to talk about the history, but I do go back to when I was here in full year with my husband in 2015. And I want you to know that early on, I was very impressed about the wellness concerns that already existed here within Woodland Pond. And I wrote them down because there were enough that I didn't want to remember. First of all was the Welcome Committee. Day one, someone was paying attention to some needs that we had. And from that, within a couple of weeks, my husband and I started attending an activity class. The activity class was run by residents. And you all know Bernice Hummel. She was one of the leaders of the Wellness Morning Activity Stretch and Honor, along with Vivian Yetru and Ginny Cannon. They ran the activity exercise group in the morning. And yes, we did have a book reading club. And I was here 2 years after it started. So think about that. Short story group already existed. And then there was, before any of those, the Interfaith Meditation Group. It was made up primarily of 3 ministers who were residents and residents who wanted to be part of the interfaith group. That group decided they needed a meditation room. So the meditation room that exists today over in the health center, which was nothing but a storage closet, was converted into a meditation room by the thoughts that came from the residents. That's something that I think is important, is that residents have made a difference here, and they continue to. The Interfaith Meditation Group is something that I had joined, but in addition to the residents doing things, Sarah and Gretchen and Mary Jo already had programs that were brought to us for wellness. Some of them, they were also, by the way, open to the whole community. It wasn't just for those of us who were living here, but they had a hospice bereavement group because back when we started, people were already dying. And they saw the need to bring in hospice to help with bereavement. Obviously, death was an issue, but then we also had people who came to us from the department, Ulster County Department of Aging. They were there to help us see what it means to be in this aging group. In addition to that, we had Jewish Family Services who came in. They dealt with the topic of caregiving and grief. Always open to the whole community of New Paltz, not just to the residents who lived here. Gretchen ran Alzheimer program with Ice Cream Social. It was a fundraiser. Mary Jo ran the Heart Association breakfast fundraiser. These are things that have been done in the past. Transition went, we started a health committee. The health committee, Rhea, was the first chair of the health committee, along with Maddie Lee, who saw it as head of the resident council, that we needed a health committee bringing to us in Independent what's going on in the health center, always thinking of one another. My husband transferred to Garden View. I became very acquainted with the health center after 2016. And the next thing that was critical to what evolved into today's group you're going to hear about was the Interfaith Committee was asked to assist residents, comforting them because there had been a suicide on campus. We knew we weren't up to becoming the counselors. Our appeal went to resident council, it went to management. So back then, before 2020, we needed a social worker on staff. 2020 came, COVID deaths occurred, more appeal. We needed counselors, but no counselors were available to be found. From there, fast forward after 2020.
Hi, everybody. So back in 2022, in March of 2022, we all celebrated Women's History Month. Some of you who were here may remember it. And there was a panel of clinicians, Rhea, Pat, Tamar, myself, Leah, a couple of other people. And we had a panel where we talked about our lives as mental health clinicians. Well, at the end of that panel, boy, did the dams break. People stayed and were talking about all kinds of issues and why was Woodland Pond not doing anything about this? So it was quite a lively conversation. And when Michelle heard about it, she said, wow, we have to address this. So Michelle put out a call for a task force to really advise her and Sarah from our standpoint as residents and as clinicians. And we started the Mental Health and Wellness Task Force. The original members were myself. I'm Ronnie Sue Jaffe. I was a licensed clinical social worker and had a career as a clinician and an administrator. Tamar Oppler on my right, licensed clinical social worker, mainly in private practice, her career. Pat was an educator and worked in pastoral care. Did I leave something out, Pat? No, yeah. Rhea, a master's in mental health counseling, worked mainly as an administrator for New York City. And Wayne Lavender, who's enjoying Martha's Vineyard as we speak. He is a licensed PhD clinical psychologist who worked with severely mentally disturbed people in institutionalized and had a private practice. That was the original group. About a year-ish later, when Margot Elkin came on as a resident, she joined us. Margot is also a licensed social worker. That was the Mental Health Task Force. And we accomplished quite a bit, I think, which we're going to talk about in a minute. About a year ago, the resident council decided that our task force really should be a committee of the resident council. So we no longer are a task force advising Michelle because she's done a lot of things for this community in this field. So we became a committee, and we've been joined by Norman Breyer in the back row, who was not a clinician, but he's had a long career in administration in state mental health agencies, and also Liz Spiegler. I don't see her. Is she here? No. Oh, sorry. Liz also was an administrator for the New York City mental health community. So I'm going to put in a plug right now, which we're going to talk about later. But we would love for as many of you who would be interested in joining our committee. We meet the second Friday of every month at 10 o'clock in the Art Studio, and the next meeting will be Friday, September 10th at 10 o'clock in the Art Studio. You do not have to be a clinician. Okay, so that's how our committee evolved. Now we're going to move on.
So we evolved, but what did we do? We started out thinking, well, what kind of programs should we have? What topics should we present to residents? And I'm going to cover a few of the areas, and then Pat and Ronnie will do others. We had a two-part series on what we called transitions. We knew, even though maybe management wanted to look the other way, that people came here and some of them were half traumatized. They were depressed, they were anxious, downsizing a home, moving to a strange new place, having to be very cheery at dinner. It was a lot of stress for a lot of people. And we had a presentation on making room for the negative feelings. And that meeting led to a follow-up meeting discussing this in small groups. And I think that was the beginning of opening up the whole subject of mental health, and that you're allowed to feel many different things, not just happy to be here. And part two of transitions became moving from independent living to the health center, which might be an even bigger trauma for some people. The fear of the health center, the curiosity about the health center. So that was our second part. Another thing we did was contact the daughter of Raina Maisel. Most of you remember Raina. Her daughter was a doctor and a medical administrator who left the hospital world and became a consultant to individuals. And the way she described her job was to help them master the ins and outs of all the medical situations they deal with. And you all know you can have 5, 10, 15 doctors. So we had her come and speak on solo aging, which was very effective. And then she came a second time and spoke on medications and over-medicating. And it wasn't what we think of as too much medication. It was a doctor prescribed a medication in 2000. You moved in 2004, and the new doctor continued the medication. And in 2005, put you on something else. The third doctor kept the medications of the first two and added something else. So after 15 years, you're on a ton of medication, some of which can go back 20 years. And she spoke about the need to review some of that, and people found it very, very substantive. Then the last thing, oh, two things. We had Nina Smiley and David Harp from Mohonk Mountain House speak on meditation and mindfulness. And we had Amy Nitzer from the college. She was the director of the program of disaster mental health, which trains first responders. She came and spoke on mental health and resilience. And part of that was dealing with COVID and the price that it can extract from people. So those were some of the programs.
If I may add, the first one that we had an audience full for was for caregivers. It was on a Zoom with the author Barbara Cohn, who wrote the book, I can't remember the name of the book, Calmer Waters. She wrote the book Calmer Waters. And that book was then purchased and put in the 3 different locations within Woodland Pond, the first of the programs.
Go ahead.
That's it.
Okay. I'm going to tell you about some other programs we initiated, but Tamar forgot to mention that she started a group called COVID Conversations. It was not a clinical group, but Tamar and her friends met for a couple of years.
Over 2 years.
Over 2 years, it was a chance for people to talk about COVID, the isolation, what it did to them, how they were feeling now. We also had 3 death cafes. I think one was called something else, but they were basically death cafes. And we'd like to mention Margot was really instrumental in really encouraging us to pursue and have the 3rd Death Cafe. It was very, very helpful. We heard wonderful things from people, just snippets like, gee, this is the first time I've really talked about death. I'm going to go home and call my children and ask them, do they have wills? I mean, it was really amazing how useful the death cafes were. And we'll probably do another one. We also brought in an attorney from Kingston, Anthony Emanowicz, who did a presentation on the MOLST form, healthcare proxies, power of attorneys, living wills, and really helped us to parse out what all these different things meant. And if you're interested, it's on the YouTube channel. Actually, any of these programs are on the YouTube channel. You can check them out. Margot also had suggested that we do something for people who are visually impaired. And she contacted Claire Wade from the state, who came and spoke with people who do have visual impairment, gave them some suggestions. We then turned that piece over to Liz Elliott when Liz came on board as the nurse here. And she had a second program with Claire Wade, not only for people in the health center, but for people here with macular. And it was very well received. And we coordinated with Terrell and the technology people so that, because some of the techniques that Claire was helping the visually impaired were apps on the phone. And Terrell and Cameron were there to help people with those apps. So maybe we left something out, I don't know, but that's basically some of the programs we put together. And I'd like to say also that these are not easy to put together. This took a lot of work to understand what people wanted. We also had a survey about a year ago of programs that people wanted, to research resources that were available, and to put this all together. It's not something that just happens overnight. All along, we kept pushing for a social worker. We really need a social worker here, but we'll get to that later. Can you hold Q&A till the end? No, not yet.
Finished with the outside programs that we coordinated and the inside programs. Meanwhile, always there was an ongoing Alzheimer group, caregiver group. There has been an ongoing hospice group. And our discussions were saying we aren't going far enough. I included felt there was a need for more for the caregivers who are here in Independent and have spouses or partners in the health center. So I willingly, as part of the committee's effort, agreed to hold a caregivers group. It was strictly confidential. Over 2 years, there were more than 12 residents. It would rise and fall because of deaths. That still is an issue. And it was kept confidential to this day. You may have heard about it, but you know not what anyone had to say within that group. We felt the peer situation was another positive that we could offer. I stopped when my close friend passed away.
Also, we just remembered one other program. Pat had contacted Tanya Lopez, who works over in the health center as the dietitian, and she came and did a fabulous presentation on the connection between nutrition and mental health wellness.
I just want to emphasize that Pat's group, from what I can't say from what I hear, I haven't heard anything, but my sense was it was extremely successful because it was really a peer group of Pat as the kind of facilitator, meaning she unlocked the door when the meeting started. And when I led the COVID conversation group, I was a member of the group. I wasn't an outside leader. And we look forward to having other groups where people who are the facilitators are in the exact same boat as all the people who attend. And we found that those are very rich and very meaningful. And from what we hear, not done at a lot of CCRCs. Now, everything we've done takes a lot of work. It's a lot of time, a lot of reading, a lot of phone calls, a lot of lists, a lot of changing lists. And I think we've worked phenomenally together to make it all happen. We're moving on to the future? Okay. The future. I'll just make one point. Apparently, in the plan for the renovation, there's going to be this whole area called the Wellness Wing. And the Wellness Wing is going to have a wellness lounge. My pet peeve about a wellness lounge is, and I'm going back to the pub and the tables outside the pub, that we need small tables with chairs where 2 people could speak, or 4 people could speak, or 6 people, or 3 people, where you can have a private conversation. People are always looking for a corner where 2 people can speak. So I'm going to do what I can do to have it small, not have huge sofas and huge lounge chairs where you can't even hear each other. So my pet peeve is small tables and lots of chairs for the future. more future? Annika? Yeah, I'll do.
Something that we'd forgotten that just was put on our calendar today, October 30th, hospice. And many of you were at the program they presented here for us in the past week. They're going to come and do a grief session. It doesn't mean you personally experienced it, but you're among neighbors who have passed or will. And how are we dealing with this collectively and independently? So October 30th, that's going to be on our calendars. And there's more to come. But if you go back to the very beginning, back in 2015, it was the residents who were running the programs to be well. That's what you still can do. You can make suggestions to what the future programs are that our committee might help.
We tried for years to get a social worker here. We did find someone who was willing to see people individually a few years ago. It didn't work out. Michelle put out a call for a social worker. That didn't work out. Well, we are thrilled that we have a social worker now. Some of you met her yesterday at Q&A. Her name is Annika Epley. If she could please come and introduce herself. And we think that this is the finest part of our work for the last 4 years is that well, here she is.
Thank you so much for the presentation. I think you guys have done great work. And yeah, so I introduced myself yesterday at the management Q&A, so I'll try not to repeat myself too much. Yeah, so my name is Annika. I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I'm also a trained psychotherapist. I've been in the field of social work for about 15 years now. Much of that time was in the world of supportive housing in the city. I worked for an agency that I loved for many years, for about 10 years. And in a way, working here at Woodland Pond reminds me a little bit of that work, that I get to be here in your home, really. And I think there's a special sort of intimacy to that. And it also allows for, I think, a really deep connection, something about being in your home. So thank you for allowing me to be in your home. I've met many of you. I've felt very welcomed by so many of you. This is my 4th week. But essentially, I will be providing individual support for anyone who needs it. That can look like, one session if it's just something that you just want to talk about. There's something that you want to get off your chest. It could be a few sessions. It could be for a longer period of time. I can also help connect you to outside therapists if that feels more comfortable, right? If you're looking for a certain kind of person, if you're looking for a certain expertise or a modality, I can help you kind of sort that out, look through some profiles, see if we can figure out a good support. We can meet outside, we can meet in my office, we can meet in your apartment. So anything that feels comfortable. And there's no obligation either. So that's something that's important in a therapeutic relationship, right? If you're finding like, I don't know if I feel comfortable for whatever reason, that is okay. And again, I can help figure out what would feel more comfortable. I also hope to be running a couple groups. One group that we're thinking of is a caregiver support group, also a grief group. I would love to talk to you all more because I also hear the importance of having a peer leading it. So maybe we can brainstorm a little bit about that and think about what that could look like. So we can think about that a little bit. On a personal note, I moved to New Paltz with my family 5 years ago with my 2 kids. I have an 11-year-old and a 6-year-old. So I relate a little bit to this whole moving thing, right? and starting over in New Paltz. I know many of you are from the area, but some of us come from farther away. And I know it's such a mixed bag. It's really a duality of experiences. We can want to move, it can be necessary, maybe we don't want to move, right? There's all kinds of reasons for moving, but whether we want it or not, a lot can come up, a lot of things that we hadn't been expecting. Including about ourselves, right? Like being in an environment, especially around a lot of people, and suddenly we're having to make new friends, and there's always loss involved as well. So all kinds of challenges that can come up that can be very unexpected and really difficult. Again, even if we're happy and in a certain way with this choice that we've made in moving. So that's all I have for now. I welcome any questions that anyone has. You can come to my office, you can give me a call. I could come to your apartment and just talk more about what this could look like. But no question is off the table in my mind. Also, no topic is off the table, just putting that out there as well. So yeah. Yes, good point. So I am on the wing I'm right next to Sarah Leonard. So I'm there Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays. So you can come any of those days. You could also leave me a message. Because I'm new, I'm forgetting my phone number. I should have had it on my notes. But you can come by and get it. Oh, sure. Okay, sorry. Gotcha. But you can come to my office Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Respond to email.
Yes, I do respond to email. So it's A. Epley with whatever the ending is. What is it? At New Paltz at, yes, exactly. That one. So you can email me as well. Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you. And
Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to mention about the resource list.
Yep.
Yes.
Before we're getting ready to go to Q&A. When you leave, this is a resource list that we put together. Some of you have seen it. It's in the mailroom. It's got a lot of good resources for people. If you want to just contact help on your own, you don't want to go through Annika or anybody else. You just want to make some contacts for mental health resources. Just come up and take this.
Oh, of course. So a point was just brought to my attention, which I should say. There's no fee for therapy with me at Woodland Pond because I'm employed by Woodland Pond. So this is a free service, not through your insurance.
Good point.
Do you want Q&A? Okay, Q&A. Rhea.
I just wanted to add a couple of points, having been here probably longer than anybody. I think it's 12 years. It's 12 years. And one thing I want to say is that if something does not happen at Woodland Pond because, let's say, management doesn't see it as an issue or something to spend money on at the particular time, but you and let's say another group of people feel that it's really important and that they're missing something, don't give up. We have worked at this for over 10 years to get Annika. And when I see Annika standing up, I can't tell you how proud I feel that she is really in person and we see her. So I'm just encouraging the rest of you as residents here, if there's something you really feel would benefit the community and that there's a hole, like we always felt mental health was not being paid attention to, keep on working at it, keep on going. And eventually, I hope you're as successful as we've been. We had a very hard time, by the way, finding people who wanted to work, not just in Woodland Pond, but under the conditions that Michelle was setting out for them. A few people said they were very interested, and then they disappeared. So it's not an easy task, but it's well worth it in the end.
I always thought that Sarah Leonard was a licensed social worker. Is that not correct?
Sarah, come up. If you can make it. Not that big. Yeah, Ronnie.
Oh my goodness. So my background is in gerontology. I have a master's degree in gerontology from the College of New Rochelle. And then I have a bachelor's degree in psychology and a bachelor's degree in art therapy and graduate certificate in death and dying and grief counseling. But I am not a licensed clinical social worker. So that is correct.
And can I just add something?
You have the mic there.
Yeah. Sarah has been with our group since the beginning, and she has been magnificent and has really helped us with our goals and supported us and provides an important service here. Annika is going to provide a different service. So they're complementing each other, not overlapping.
I just want to add that I found Sarah's background invaluable because specializing in gerontology is very different from anything else. And I think it's not just learning it, but being the kind of person who wants to go into gerontology is something very, very special. And we have that in Sarah.
I'll just add another thing that about Sarah, which she may or may not want you to know. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sarah started working with the aged when she was 14. She worked kind of like a candy striper in a nursing home and has worked with the aged since she's been 14. So she brings an incredible resource here.
Other questions, thoughts? Anything you want to add?
I don't know if this is appropriate, but I think it might be helpful to people. A friend here in New Paltz recently told me that she had bought a knock box, N-O-K, which stands for next of kin. And so I bought one, and the knock box is a big plastic box that has folders in it, hanging folders with a label, multiple labels like debt, assets, insurance, credit cards, banks. And what it is to have the papers that are important in your life available to whomever is going to take care of your estate when you're gone. And I felt like my stepdaughter would just have a terrible time. I mean, I have drawers of folders, but I have lots of other folders as well amidst them. And so I'm working now on doing that. And in addition, the folks that produce the knock box send me information regularly via email telling me how to handle things, how to handle insurance, how to handle assets. And there's a piece of paper in each of the folders that you fill out, like in assets, you list what your assets are. On a folder for major credit cards, you list what the credit card is. Another thing is things that are automatically taken out of your credit account. That didn't occur to me, but of course they'd keep taking it. She wouldn't know. So although it's yes.
Where do you get a knock box?
I did it online. You just look up NOK box.
Oh.
And you can buy just the folders or you can buy the box. I wanted to buy the box to have something to put them in. So it's past healthcare, mental health, but it's my mental health knowing that my stepdaughter is not going to be frantic when I leave this earth.
Excellent. Thank you, Joyce.
Thank you. Mike and then
Mike.
Leah.
Yeah, I just want to ask about a peer supported, a peer caregiver group, because when my wife was in the health center, Woodland Life had in their, whatever month it was earlier this year, that there was a caregiver support group in the health center in the conference room. I went there, waited, nobody's there. I talked to Michelle. Michelle said, oh, that group doesn't exist anymore. And I had help from, like, hospice had social workers that talked to me. There's a social worker in the health center, but just a like-minded people who, of a group of your peers that can talk candidly about their situations. And I think it would be very helpful, and I would want to see if that's going to happen again. I mean, it's been discussed here, but I would like to see it happen.
Thank you, Mike.
There seems to be a movement in Woodland Pond about people cleaning up their extraneous ownership of things in their apartment. I know several people who are going through that either because they're moving into smaller apartments or because they have heard of this. In Sweden, they have a program. It's not even more a program. It's called death cleaning. Thank you very much. And it's part of their cultures that people are aware of what Joyce was talking about. And it bears further discussion, but it could very well be something that the Mental Health Committee will discuss in further detail and maybe offer a program that would be helpful to people.
Check your calendar. There is a cleaning, something like downsizing program that's being offered on our calendar, and I believe it's next week.
Who's offering?
Say it again.
Who's leading it, Pat? Who's offering it?
I don't know.
Yeah. I want to make a,
She has some answers.
oh, okay. I will give you the mic in a second. I want to make a comment about this. The Sustainability Committee, we have a task group, which is reuse and repair. Some of you may be familiar with the repair cafes, but the other part is the reuse part. And we have been getting people addressing to us, says, well, I have all these things, what do I do with them? Well, the easy answer usually is throw it in the garbage. But that's totally against the sustainability idea that everything can be used or reused or remade into something. So we have been doing this. I think probably the access to us, it's not uniform because we get involved with sometimes people reducing their environment because they are moving to a smaller place. And sometimes we only hear about that way after they threw away a lot of things after the staff free store. And that's probably way too late. So, I mean, that's my plug on that. There is another reason that I think, we sometimes get involved because getting rid of things, it's part of your readjusting. And it happens to people that are just moving in and they decide, well, I brought so many things, but I really don't need them. And we can help probably with that process as well.
I think that there are two sessions of that organizer. She's next week or maybe the week after.
This newsletter, it's a 2-session thing. Yes.
One of the topics I'd be interested in, and I know some other people would be, but I'm not sure it's in your purview, is planning your funeral. There's so many aspects. There's so many, it may have been presented a while ago. I know we had an open table, many vendors came and they were one of them, but there's been so many new people since that time. So it's just a thought. That's right.
There are so many new kinds of funerals. And actually somebody came to me and said, do I know of a Jewish cemetery? I thought, no, I don't know of Jewish cemetery. And that got me thinking about people who have questions, and we should be talking about this. Absolutely.
That might be a good topic for a death cafe, part of a death cafe, or in conjunction with it. Anything else? Well, for those of you who might be interested, please come to our next meeting, September 10th at 10 o'clock in the Art Studio. Please come and take a resource paper, and thank you so much for coming.
Give us suggestions anytime.
Excellent.
Yes.
Very good.